labor.
Accountants,
Lawyers.
Yes. I mean, I've just pulled a ligament in my foot, and they did an MRI scan, and I had to wait a couple of days for someone to look at the MRI scan and tell me what it meant.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's gone.
Yeah, I think the healthcare ecosystem is hard to predict because of regulation. And again, there's so many limiting factors on how this technology can permeate the economy because of regulations and people's willingness to take it. But things, unregulated jobs that are purely text in, text out. If your job, you get a message and you produce some kind of artifact that's like probably text or images, that job is at risk.
So just to give you some stats here as well, about 50% of Americans who have a college degree currently use AI.
Mm-hmm.
The stats are significantly lower for Americans without a college degree. So you can see how a splinter might emerge there, and that crack will widen because people like us at this table are all messing around with it. But my mum and dad in Plymouth in the southwest, rural England, haven't got, they just figured out iPhones. So I got them an iPhone, and now they're texting me back. AI is a million miles away. And if I start running off with my AGI and my agents, that gap is going to widen. Women are disproportionately affected by automation, which is what you were talking about there, with about 80% of working women in an at-risk job compared to just over 50% of men, according to the Harvard Business Review. And jobs requiring only a high school diploma have an automation risk of 80%, while those requiring a bachelor's degree have an automation risk of just 20%. So we can see again how this will cause a sort of
it's also a huge risk with business process outsourcing, which is essentially Western countries sending jobs to India, to the Philippines. Like at the moment, millions of people have been lifted out of poverty through the ability to do those kind of business process outsourcing jobs, and those are all going to go.
But they're going to have 1,000 employees.
But also, these people are actually already transitioning to training AIs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a massive industry around training AIs
until they're trained.
Well, no, you have to continuously acquire new skills, and this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, if AI is a function of its data, then you need increasingly more data. And by the way, we ran out of internet data.
I was actually thinking, interestingly, that this might not be great for the United States or the UK, the Western world, because it is going to be a leveler. Yeah. Where now a kid in India doesn't need a Silicon Valley office and $7 million in investment to throw up a software company, basically.
My belief is that, so I have a more broad definition of AGI and the singularity. And for me, AGI is, do we have artificial general intelligence in terms of, generally speaking, can AI just do stuff that humans used to be able to do? And we've already crossed that point. We have this general intelligence that we can now all access. And 800 million people a week are now using ChatGPT. It's exploded in the last 3 months. And then to me, a singularity, when the first tractor went out onto a farm, for me, that was a singularity moment because everyone who worked in farming, it used to take 100 people to plow a field. And now a tractor comes along and 2 guys with the tractor can now plow the field in just as much time. And now 98 people out of 100 are completely out of a job.
We also always underestimate a technology if it does go on to change history. When you look back through cars, horses, planes, the Wright brothers just thought of a plane as being something that the army could use. They had no idea of the application. So someone said to me recently, they said, when it does change the world, we underestimate the impact that it will change the world. And I see people now with their estimations of AI and AI agents already incredibly optimistic. And so if history holds here, we are undershooting the impact it's going to have. And I think this is the first time in my life where the Industrial Revolution analogies seem to fall a little bit short.
Yeah.
Because we've never seen intelligent, that's like, I could think of this as I'm not an intelligent person on this, but I could see that as like the disruption of muscles. Whereas this is the disruption of intelligence.
That's exactly the thing, is that what makes human beings special is our cognitive capacity and very specifically our ability to plug our minds into each other so that the sum or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's what makes human cognition special. And what we are doing is we are creating something that can technologically surpass it without any of the preconditions that make that a safe process. So yes, we've revolutionized the world how many different times? It's innumerable, but we've made farming vastly more efficient. That's different than taking our core competency as a species and surpassing ourselves with the product of our labor I think your question is a good one. Then what does become?
We only have one thing left. We have our muscles, which we got rid of in the Industrial Revolution. And then we have our intellect, which is this digital revolution. Now we're left with emotions and agency. So we essentially, the agency idea, I think we used to judge people on IQ, and now IQ is the big leveler. And now going forward for the next 10 years, we're going to look at, are you a high agency person or a low agency person? Do you have the ability to get things done and coordinate agents? Do you have the ability to start businesses or give orders to digital armies? And essentially these high agency people are going to thrive in this new world because they have this other thing that's been bubbling under the surface, which is
really interesting. When you said agency is going to remain as an important thing, we're sat here talking about AI agents. And the crazy thing in a world of AI agents that have super intelligence is I can just tell my agent, listen, I'm going on holiday. Please build me a SaaS company that spots a market opportunity, throw up the website, post it on my social media channel. I'll be in Hawaii. And this new agentic world is stealing that too, because now it can take action. In the same way that I can browse the internet, I can call Domino's Pizza, speak to their agentic agent, organize my pizza to be there before I even wake up. And in fact, predictability, OpenAI now learns, and Sam Altman said that they've expanded the memory feature. So it knows it's knowing more and more and more and more about me. It'll almost be able to predict what I want when I want it. It'll know Steve's calendar, he's arriving at the studio, make sure his cadence is on the side, make sure his iPad has the brief on it, do the brief, do the research for me, and everything else. So it'll remember Brett's birthday, so when I arrive, there'll be something. In fact, it's removing my need for any agency.
Yes, and again, I don't know how to make this point so that it occurs to people what I'm really suggesting, but today, maybe it's not conscious, but, well, let me put it to you this way. If you're conscious, you started out as a child that wasn't. And although this may not fully encapsulate it, you are effectively an LLM, right? You go from an unconscious infant to a highly conscious adult. And the process by which you do that has a lot to do with being trained effectively on words and other things in an environment in exactly the way that we now train these AIs. So the idea that we can take consciousness off the table, it won't be there till we figure out how to program it in and we're safe because we don't know how consciousness works. I take the opposite lesson. We've created the exact thing that will produce that phenomenon, and then we can have philosophers debate whether it's real consciousness or it just behaves exactly as if it were, and the answer is those aren't different.
Doesn't matter.
And the same thing is true for agency, especially if you've created an environment in which these AIs are de facto competitors. What you're effectively doing is creating an evolutionary environment in which they will evolve to fill whatever niches are there, and we didn't spell out the niches. So I have the sense we have created something that truly is going to function like a new kind of life. And it's especially troubling because it speaks our language. So that leads us to believe it's more like us than it is. And it's actually potentially quite different. So,
but by the way, he's the optimist here. Right? He's so optimistic about LLMs and how they're gonna evolve. Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing technology. I think it raised global IQ, right? 800 million people. 800 million people are that much more intelligent and emotionally intelligent as well. I know people who previously were very coarse and they kind of rob people the wrong way. They would say things in not so polite way. And then suddenly they started putting what they're saying through ChatGPT in order to kind of make it kinder and nicer, and they're more liked now. And so not only is it making us more intelligent, but also it allows us to be the best version of ourselves. And the scenario that you're talking about, I don't know what's wrong with that. I would want less agency in certain places. I would want something to help me not, open up a peanut butter jar at night, right? There are places in my life where I need more control and I would rather cede it to some kind of entity that could help me make better choices.